Okay, good morning. We are going to call the Municipal Officers Electoral Board to order in the case of Navarez versus Anthony. At this time, can I have a roll call?
Curtis.
Present.
Gall, here. Swanson. Here. 3 present, 0 absent.
We do have a quorum. We'll begin with some introductory remarks. This board was convened on Thursday, November 7th at 4 p.m. to hear the case of Victor Navarez versus Kelly Anthony for the alderman seat within the 5th Ward of the city of Kankakee. At that time, there was a recess till Tuesday, November 12th at 2 p.m., at which the board convened again and had some discussions, and then again a recess was set until today, Friday, November 15th for 10 a.m. Before we move on to the case itself, is there any public comment at this point? Seeing no public comment, we will proceed into case number 2024-02, Navarez versus Anthony, and I will turn this over to legal counsel for the Electoral Board.
Thank you, Chairman. For the record, my name is Michael Sanchi, S-A-N-T-S-C-H-I, representing the Municipal Officers Electoral Board of the City of Kankakee. The board is here today to deliberate and make a decision on its final decision and order. Our office has prepared an order for deliberation. I'm going to pass 3 copies of it out to the members of the board. The plan here is going to be, I will run through it. The board can then deliberate it in open session. If the order meets with the approval of the Electoral Board, I will ask for a motion to approve it. And then, because for the record, Mr. Navarez, the objector, is present, but Mr. Anthony, the respondent, is not, I will be looking for a motion directing our office to serve the order on Mr. Anthony and any other parties required by law. So, unless there are any questions, I'll jump right into it. And Mr. Navarez, there's a copy of the order that will be provided to you if and when it's approved. The decision in order begins with background that describes how we got here. On page 1, it recites that October 28th, 2024, Mr. Anthony filed his nomination papers for the office of 5th Ward Alderman. A copy of those papers is attached as Exhibit A. On November 4th, the petitioner, Victor Navarez, filed his objection to those papers. A copy of the objection is attached as Exhibit B. The filing of the objection triggered the requirement for this electoral board to convene pursuant to various provisions of the election code. That process involved the city clerk transmitting a copy of the nomination papers and objection to the chairman, which is the mayor, by hand delivery on the 4th and by letter on the 5th. All of that is recited at the bottom of page 1. A copy of that letter is attached as Exhibit C. On November 5th, the clerk also transmitted a copy of the nomination papers and objection by letter to Mr. Navarez. That is attached as Exhibit D1. Thereafter, the chairman issued a call notice to all members of the board, as well as Mr. Navarez and Mr. Anthony. That is attached as Exhibit D2. That same call notice was served on all pertinent parties by the sheriff's office, and there are affidavits evidencing that service attached as Exhibit D3. On November 7th, the board convened for an initial meeting. It adopted its rules at that time. The adopted rules are attached as Exhibit E. The agenda for that meeting is attached as Exhibit E. The rules are attached as Exhibit F. Mr. Anthony did not appear on the 7th, and so the board set the meeting over to November the 12th to give him a second opportunity to appear. After that meeting, our office, at the board's direction, issued a second notice to Mr. Anthony informing him of the recessed meeting of November 12th. A copy of that letter is attached as Exhibit G, and a copy of his personal hand delivery receipt, which he signed, is attached as Exhibit H. The board reconvened on November the 12th, and a copy of the agenda for that meeting is attached as Exhibit I. Mr. Anthony again failed to appear, so the board opened the case in accordance with the rules and allowed the objector, Mr. Navarez, to present his case. At the end of that meeting, it was recessed to today, Friday, November 15th. Attached as Exhibit J to the order is the agenda for the Friday, November 15th meeting, which is this meeting. On page 4, the order goes into the analysis which our office has performed. First, the analysis finds that Mr. Anthony's failure to appear on both the 7th and the 12th, as directed by the board, is a violation of the board's rules. Section 11 of the board's rules addresses a failure to follow the board's directives and finds that a failure can result in a default. The order finds Anthony in default and sustains the objections on that basis. However, because that's a procedural default, the order goes on to address the merits of one of the two objections that were raised in Mr. Navarro's petition. That objection has to do with the filing of a statement of economic interest. The objection alleges that, and the evidence that was provided alleges that there's no statement of economic interest was filed with the Kankakee County Clerk and no receipt was filed with the city clerk. Our office has reviewed the pertinent law and finds that filing of those two things, the statement of economic interest with the county clerk and the receipt with the city clerk, are required by Section 712, Subpart 8 of the Election Code. You can find that analysis on page 5, as well as various sections of the Illinois Governmental Ethics Act. You can find that analysis on page 6 over onto page 7. On page 7, there are 3 cases that are cited: Bolger versus Electoral Board of McHenry, 210 ILL.APP.3D 958, 2nd District, 1991, and Powell versus East St. Louis, 337 ILL.APP.3D 334, 5th District, 2003, and then later a case called Kellogg versus Cook County, Illinois Electoral Board. In these cases, the courts have construed similar situations where candidates have failed to file their statement of economic interest, have failed to file their receipts, or, as here, have tried to file the statement of economic interest with the party that's supposed to receive the nominating papers and not the correct party. In all of those cases, the court found that those failures were fatal to the candidacy of that particular individual, and on that basis, we're recommending that this board sustain the objection on its merits. Page 9 has a conclusion paragraph which makes that finding, sustains the objection, and closes the matter. At this time, Mr. Chairman, I would move on behalf of the board to admit all of the exhibits attached to the order into evidence for this matter.
The exhibit that is presented, along with the background and conclusion, has been submitted to Electoral Board and accepted.
And, so my motion is to admit the exhibits into evidence.
Okay, sorry. Is there a motion to accept the exhibits into evidence?
I'll make that motion.
We have a motion from Alderwoman Swanson. Is there a second?
I'll second.
We have a second from Clerk Gall. Is there any comments or discussions? Roll call.
Curtis.
Aye.
Gall, aye. Swanson.
Aye.
3 ayes, 0 nays.
Okay. Then on that basis, I present to you this order, and if there are any questions, I'm happy to answer them. If there's any deliberation, now is the time. It has to happen in open session. And if there are no deliberations, I would recommend a motion to approve this order, followed by a motion to direct our office to serve the order. We can hand serve a copy on Mr. Navarro's here today, but the other parties are going to need to receive it by mail.
Is there any comments or deliberation or anything regarding this particular order?
No.
Seeing none, is there a motion to approve this order as provided to us with the conclusion to sustain Navarro's objection?
I'll make that motion.
We have a motion from Alderwoman Swanson. Is there a second?
I'll second.
We have a second from Clerk Gall. Any questions, comments? Roll call.
Curtis.
Aye.
Gall, aye. Swanson.
Aye.
3 ayes, 0 nays.
Okay. The order. And then is there a motion to authorize the law firm of Spacia and Taylor to be able to deliver this order to all necessary parties that have not received it and personally delivered to them today?
I'll make the motion.
We have a motion from Clerk Gall. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
We have a second from Alderwoman Swanson. Any questions or comments? Roll call?
Curtis.
Aye.
Gall, aye. Swanson.
Aye.
3 ayes, 0 nays.
Okay, we're going to go off the record just for a moment here so we can get the order signed, and then we'll go back on the record to close out the meeting. Off the record. Back on the record. For the record, I will note that a copy of the signed decision and order of the Electoral Board has been tendered to and served on the objector, Mr. Victor Navarez, here in the open meeting. I have the other copies here. There's no other business for this board to attend to, so a motion to adjourn would be in order.
I'll make the motion to adjourn.
I'll second that motion.
All right, it is now 10:12, Friday, November 15th. We have a motion from Clerk Gall to adjourn, seconded by Alderwoman Swanson. Roll call?
Curtis.
Aye.
Gall, aye. Swanson.
Aye.
3 ayes, 0 nays.
This hearing is closed and adjourned. Thank you.
Off the record, please.